this overview of our policy management product. My name is Jeff Crosman, and I am a product manager here at SP Marketplace. What you're looking at is our landing page for those that are in the proper permission group for staff or department managers, however you define that, where people who are developing policies, people who are setting up acknowledgments, and managing the individual items therein. We're going to look at our policy development process, and to do that, we are going to go into the policy management area. Now, you can get to this particular library one or two ways. You could do it via this promoted link that is on the home page, and you can do it over here on the navigation. Under the policy development library, policies can be put into different department folders or other named folders. You could have them as just simple flat file here. However it meets the requirements of your organization or company is how we would set this up. In this demo, we're going to look at the IT department, and you can see there has already been policies that have been uploaded. We're going to pick one, and I will highlight how the process works. As an overview, our policy status, policies arrive and or are uploaded and always start in development. You are able to upload a document, a Word document, to start the development via this, upload via file. You can upload a whole folder of policies if you'd like, or you can create policy templates, and they would be listed here, and you can pick from them for starting at policy development. Once a policy is chosen, we'll just use this right here, email usage policy. In development, you will find that there are multiple data fields across. So we have an effective date, we have a review date, we have an expiration date. So for all policies that start in the in development status, you would put an effective date. In this case, January 1 of 2026. The review date is tied to the expiration. So this is a 1-year policy, expires on December 31st of 2026. And we want the owner to be notified when the review date hits. So in this case, December 1st of 2026, there will be a notification that goes to the policy owner, and that owner then will be informed that this needs to be reviewed and is coming up for expiration and to take action. If you follow this across, we have one owner for one policy, but you can have multiple approvers in this approver field, and you can have multiple reviewers. There are additional fields that you can fill out. So here's the reviewers. If you utilize document numbers, this is totally up to you. You can use this field or not. It's not a required field. Department is a required field. The policy types, it's security, compliance. There's a document type. Is it a policy? Is it a process? Is it a procedure? Or otherwise, fill that out. And then the last fields are where the approver comments can come back in if you so want to have these viewed in this particular list when the approvers date time stamp the approval. You can find this information in multiple areas in the product. So when working on a document, once it is approved, then the status will change to waiting for approval. Let's take a look at this document example. I'm the owner of this document. I have one person in the review column and one person in the approval column. In this case, I would work with Tom on this particular document in the review state. Tom will have a link to this one document, and we would both be able to edit and comment on this particular document via the built-in Microsoft Word for web, or if you have it configured, you could utilize Microsoft Word for desktop. Whichever one that you prefer would work, and we take advantage of the Microsoft Word editing properties. So you have editing, you can do reviewing, viewing, comments, you could track comments and otherwise markups as well as approve those. So between the reviewer and the owner, this is the document that we are modifying, reviewing, updating, and all of that version history is kept within the document. So nothing is lost from that standpoint. Once Tom, in this case, says that the document is good, then I, as the owner, would come in and change the status to waiting for approval. This would then send out notifications to the approvers for them to review and approve or reject the document. If they approve it, the system will know that by a response. They have a response field at the bottom of their notification that says approve with comments or reject with comments. It would come back in and it would show now approved status. I would get notified as the owner that this has been approved and is ready for publishing. I can choose to publish this when it is appropriate. The system out of the box does not assume to automatically publish a document once approved. That can be accomplished via customization, but out of the box, we put the onus on the owner to choose when they want to have the policy published. And once that is determined, the owner would come in here, change the status to publish. The system would then copy this document, this file, convert it to a PDF, and put it in the published policies library and change the status to published. From a development standpoint, once it's in the published state, the process is considered complete. And I will show you where that published policy library is in just a second. But as you can see down below, when a policy hits the expiration date, it will first change it to renew and notify the owner that this is expired. If the owner chooses not to do anything with this, it's going to change it to expire and one last time notify the owner to make a decision on this. If nothing is done, it will sit in this state. If the owner says, I would like to modify it, they can change the status back to in development and run through the process again for approvals. Or if they want to just archive this, this can be moved to archive. From the policy library that is published, this is what an end user will see. So they will get the same folder structure. In this case, there's just a couple here, but if there was not a folder here, and as there was on the published policy library, say safety, the system would automatically create that folder for you in the published library. And all published policies then will show up in this view. So you will have under HR in this case, here is the policies in PDF format. Here's the policy type, the effective date, and the expiration date. This is valuable information because when an end user comes to search for a policy, they will go in to the published policies and they will either use the SharePoint if they don't know where it resides and they just want to type in drug policy because they don't know. It'll just search these folders as standard Microsoft does. And then they will go in and be able to know that they're working with the latest as they can see the effective date and the expiration date. As an end user and as a person setting up acknowledgments, we're going to walk through the process today and give you an idea how that works. We have on this page that you're looking at, this is what we call the staff or the department portal. When setting up a policy acknowledgement, you would go into the policy management item, and we want to set up an item in here. In this demo, you can see there's several that have been set up previously. We'll just take this drug policy. When setting up a new one, you can add a new one here. I'm going to open this drug policy 2026 and we can walk that through. Pretty straightforward. When filling out fields, there's a title. This will be what will be filled out as the subject. All status for the review status starts in process, and we'll walk through the different statuses in a second. The due date is what you want to put down as the date that you would like all acknowledgments to be returned by. So end users know that when this date is here, this is when they need to return the acknowledgments. Email text would also work for both email that is sent out to the end user as well as there is a card that shows up if they're using Microsoft Teams, and this is the text that would go in there. This is our new drug policy for 2026. Please acknowledge by the end of the month of December. Comments is just information that you want to put in there. Go anywhere. It's more just for notes or comments. The last several fields are critical to the acknowledgement. The first one is the reminder days. In this case, they want to be notified 22 days. They want to notify the end user if they haven't received a acknowledgement back from an end You can change this. Most people would put in this field probably like 4 days before the due date, maybe 5 days before the due date. And then what that would do is send an email and a Teams reminder to the end users that have not acknowledged a policy, reminding them that they need to do so with a link to the page to acknowledge them. You pick the policy or policies needed that you want to send out. In this case, if it's one policy, this was just the drug test policy, you just go into the drop down here and pick from any of the published policies. If you want to send to an individual as opposed to a group, the way that groups work is, in this case, Idaho employees would have a number of employees in it, and that is the specific group that the policy acknowledgments will go to. We have an all employee policy group. You can do any subset of the policy group, all employees. You can do any subset of that for specifics, executives or European employees or North American employees, however you'd like to segregate the all employees group. Say you have a new hire or other situation where you just want to send it to an individual, then you just slide this over and then this field changes dynamically so you can pick who you want to send the policy to. Okay, once that is completed, you can see that it will sit here in the in process state. So remember, it started starting state. Now it's going to move to in process. What this does in the back end now is there will be a flow, several flows that run, and it will send out, as I mentioned before, a email and also a notification within Microsoft Teams that this policy has been published and needs to be acknowledged by that due date and that information that was contained there in this policy management item. An end user, once they get to the email, will have a link to this page, which we title My Policies Portal page. This is where end users can search all published policies, find whatever ones that have been published, and then they have a view into the My Policy acknowledgments. They can see their acknowledgments and theirs alone. They will be able to come in and have a record here for their own information, as well as this is contained on the back end for audit purposes and managers and such. But as you can see in this list, for me, there are several that have been acknowledged. If I go and there's one that's been past due, this is what will happen. It'll turn red. If I wanted to acknowledge the drug policy here, I would simply open it up, read the policy, and click the Acknowledge Policy button. Now, I'm not going to do this one, but to show you how that looks, we'll go down here to the handbook. And once I've clicked this button, it will turn into policy acknowledged. So now that it's acknowledged, it'll switch the status to acknowledged and the acknowledged date, right? Here's the due date, here is the acknowledged date. And from an employee standpoint, that is how they would fully acknowledge a policy. On the back end, or again, staff or supervisors, managers, whoever's managing this policy item, you will see that this then will change to completed. And for audit purposes, if you ever want to go in and look at policy acknowledgments, this is the complete list of acknowledgments that were sent out to every employee, the acknowledged date or the not acknowledged, when it was sent, and some additional details, what was sent, who the employee is, and so forth. On this list in SharePoint, we have broken down by views because, as you can imagine, this list can get quite long. So we have it filtered by, you can look at just the acknowledged ones, by status, by employee, and there's several other views as well within this list. As always, and with SharePoint, you can set up your own view or views so that this can be tailored to however makes the most sense and visibility for you as the manager or supervisor to see information that you would like. There are areas here to set up those policy groups and then the employees as well. So from a policy acknowledgement standpoint, the cycle is completed once a policy management item is created, sent out to an end user, it'll be in the sent state, and then once the end user acknowledges, it will confirm acknowledged with a date time stamp that you can use again for review and or audit purposes going forward.
Hi, this is Jeff Lynch. I'm a product specialist here at SP Marketplace in addition to being the Power BI dashboard expert. Today we're going to go over the new Policy Management version 16 dashboard that we've put together out of the box. Obviously, all of these dashboards can be modified for your individual company needs, but But the one that comes out of the box, we go to the home page of policy management. From here, we see a button here that says dashboard. We click on that, and it takes us to a page, a dashboard embedded in it. This dashboard is embedded directly from Power BI so that you get live data. Typically, we set it up so that it will refresh the data at least once a day, but in many cases as much as 6 times a day, so that you have near real-time data in these dashboards based on the information that's in the SharePoint lists that you're working on. So we have several things going on, but the first thing we have is we have acknowledgments, and we talk about the policies themselves, and then we talk about managing those policies and making sure that all of our staff and employees acknowledge that they have seen and understand those policies. So what this page shows us is exactly that. How many acknowledgments have we had? How many are pending? How many are overdue? And we can also filter this by a particular employee, so we can see that Jeff Lynch, for example, me, has 1 approved, no pending, and no overdue. This also then gives us the details down below of exactly which policy might be missing, who's missing it, and exactly what the status of it is. And we have a graph over here on the side. This is a date bar that will reflect all of the dates that are in the system. So it grows and expands according to the time that people have put things in on the front end of the system. We can put it in by employee. We can also filter it by employee groups. So we can get all employees or the Idaho employees. We can see policy types. So we can narrow this down again where we look at just the compliance policies and just the acceptable use policies. All of these filters will grow according to the items that we've entered into the system themselves. And then if we want to look at a specific policy, we can certainly do that as well. That's probably going to become cumbersome if you have a large number of policies, but it's still there if you need to look them up. The second page of this 3-page report gives us more information about policy development. So now this is where the policy development people in your company are going to be able to take a look at what's coming up, what needs to be renewed, what things are already published, and what things do we need to be aware of going forward. It's a tremendous tool for authors of the policies and the people that manage these policies to be able to manage their workload, to be able to see what's in the queue, to be able to see what's also pending. And again, we have a separate set of filters here because we want to be able to filter this one by department as well. And then we have status. So these are different filters based on the needs of the development arm of the policy management process. And finally, we come to the last page, gives us a report on the published policies. How many published policies do we have? How many are ready to expire? When are they expiring? And which policies are they? Again, we have different filters on this page because we want to see the department. We want to see the policy type. Also, these date ranges are different because published policies have a different date range than the policies in development. So this is the SP Policy version 16 dashboard, reflecting all of the data that exists in your policy version 16 SharePoint site.